Welcome to a very beautiful classic slice of Japan. Because for 80 points during the Horizon Wilds Takeover series, you can go ahead and grab yourself the 1998 Subaru Impreza 22B. And let's face it, who doesn't need another Subie? I mean, I might be biased, but still. So for this absolute piece of brilliance on wheels, we've got ourselves 276 brake horsepower from stock, alongside 265 foot-pounds of torque, while weighing 2,800 pounds. Now, it may be from the late 90s, early 2000s, but I've got to say, just look at this thing. It looks honestly absolutely brilliant, and I believe Subaru also released the Subaru Impreza P1 based on the image of the 22B. And of course, it was also late 90s as well, so there's no, giant screens in the middle, just a couple of little things on the dashboard, a few buttons, a basic stereo, and also some dials on the front there. But now let's go ahead and take a listen to the best bit, and that's how this thing sounds. So here we are now in the upgrade shop. We're going to jump straight over to conversion, straight over to engine swaps and see what's available. We've only got 3, but we do have a 6.2 litre V8. We have a 2 litre flat 4 turbo rally alongside the 4 litre flat 6. If I remember right, I think that was the Porsche engine. And if you want, you can also go ahead and make the Subie rear wheel drive. I don't know why you would, but you can. And then we get to the fun bit, aero and appearance. There is so much you can do to this thing. We of course have got ourselves a whole bunch of various assorted different like body kits and stuff, alongside a brilliant sort of crash bar, bull bar on the front, and I think a little bit of Forza aero too. That trend continues if we go over to the rear wing, of course having ourselves a few styles of body kits options as well as the option to have the Forza wing or to take the wing off entirely, which to me just looks wrong. The rear bumper is the same story, although this time we only have ourselves just 2 different options to choose from in terms of aftermarket kit. Side skirts, we have 3 to choose from. We've got Sims, we've got the Duloc, and we also have the option to add on some mud flaps as well. And then going to the bonnet, we have the option to go ahead and throw on some rally lights, a little vent on the roof, or we can go ahead and have both too. Honestly, the customization for this thing is just incredible. However, in the meantime, our mechanic Mac has been very busy and has built us a full rally tune for this thing. So let's go ahead and bring up the share code of that real quickly. And there it is. Feel free to go ahead and grab that for yourself. We're going to go ahead, download and install and see what it's about. So with these upgrades installed, we're now at £2,320 or thereabouts, with a whopping 468 brake horsepower right at the top of A class. So those upgrades installed, here we are now over at the paint shop. We're going to jump to advanced, of which sadly there isn't any, but going over to manufacturer colours, we have ourselves just the one which I believe I remember them calling Sonic Blue. But in the meantime, we need to get this car looking a little bit more rally-esque. There we go, that looks a little bit better, more suited for rally because it's got all the proper livery and stuff on, and I've got to say there's some very interesting facts about this thing. And away we go. Right, let's go ahead and see how we can deal with the Subie at 470 near enough brake horsepower, and we've got to get ourselves from 8th all the way up to 1st place. And hopefully without too many scratches either. 14% into the race, we're already up into 4th. Hopefully any second we should try and put the power down and make that 3rd. Okay, never mind. Make that 1st. Anyway, while we rally about the deserts of Mexico, I've got to say quite a fair few people have actually had the chance to own a 22B, including the one and only Colin McRae, because he had one of the 3 pre-production prototype models of all cars. I mean, how lucky is that? But while we're talking about production numbers, I went and did a little bit of research, and apparently there are only 400 22Bs ever made. So if you happen to spot one, then you're very, very lucky indeed, and I am very envious. And if you want one, you better be prepared to spend big, because these things are not cheap anymore. They would be worth roughly around 75,000 back when they were new, if that's converted to today's money. But at the moment, used ones of these are selling for anywhere up to £220,000 sterling, which is approximately this in US dollar. And honestly, absolutely staggering price for one of these. And I've got to say though, as a Subie fanatic and someone that's been a Subie fanatic since I can remember existing, it's definitely worth it. Anyway, across the line we go with a beautiful 1st place, a gap between us and everyone else, and a time of 2 minutes 21. So all in all, an absolutely fantastic result, and now let's go ahead and check out the Horizon backstage. This week we've got ourselves the Toyota GR86 and the Mazda MX-5 RF versus the Subaru BRZ and also the Abarth 124. Now, this is a video about a Subie, so I guess we better chuck a vote over to the other Subie too. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments. However, now we've got to go from something I agree with to something I don't quite agree with so much, because, well, Mac has been busy making ourselves a brilliant drag team for this thing. In fact, once again, there is the share code, feel free to grab that for yourself, but it has a V8, so this is going to be very, very interesting. So those upgrades installed, we're now sat at £2,567 with a whopping 1,017 brake horsepower, just above halfway through S1. Do I regret installing these upgrades? Absolutely, but we're going to do it anyway. So now we go from cool to very, very cursed, because here we are now over at the back of the festival with the V8. Let's go ahead and get a wheelie shake out of this thing. And indeed, it is quite impressive. but it's still a V8. I know all the purists are going to be screaming at the screen, and trust me, I'm screaming too. In the meantime now, though, here we are over at the edge of the festival. Let's go ahead and get ourselves onto launch control, and away we go with this thing. 1,000 brake horsepower out of this thing. Honestly, it just sounds so weird. Honestly, hearing a V8 out of this thing. Ugh, do not like it. But let's go ahead and get this thing over to the camera. 186, and what do we get off the end of the drag strip? Rather, we got ourselves a 210, and on the brakes, and there's absolutely nothing. We're just going to ignore my terrible attempt at words there, okay? Right, do we want to remove the setup? Yep, V8 in the bin. Ah, now that's more like it. Right, let's go ahead and go back to conversions over to engine swaps. And I think for our sanity's sake, we're going to chuck in the 4-litre flat 6. And also a couple twin turbos as well. While we're at it, we've also thrown on some semi-slicks. Let's go ahead and make them wider in the front and also wider in the back as well, because we're going to go ahead and try and make this thing a top speed build. Now I know what you're thinking, why have you put the flat 6 in if you wanted to make it a top speed build? And that is simply because I'm not putting a V8 anywhere near this thing. Or not again anyway. There we go, this thing's got a little less power, but it's better than a V8, right? Well, isn't that just brilliant? So before we go on to the motorway, it's time to take a look at this week's Forzathon shop. We've got ourselves the Napier Railton, we've got ourselves a Horizon Backstage Pass, the Navy Plaid Hoodie, the Mercedes-Benz G63 AMG 6x6, and also the Duck Quack car horn, which sounds a bit like this. Very interesting indeed. We also have ourselves the Horizon Super Wheel Spin alongside the regular Horizon Wheel Spin. And now, out to the motorway. Although before we go on to the motorway completely to go and do a top speed run, it is time for a little game of guess how close we get to the motorway grate. And today we've actually gone in front of it. Haven't had that happen in a while. In the meantime though, here we are now over at the edge of the motorway onto launch control, and away we go. Let's go ahead and see what we can get out of this thing. It's pretty light, it's got a lot of power behind it. Let's hope for a good top speed. And out of the speed zone, 227.79, and we are still heavily accelerating. We're actually getting quite quick, which means the downhill and speed camera are going to be fantastic. And also a quick fun fact about the 22B, this has been in the Horizon series since the first ever Horizon game all the way back in 2012. Anyway, through the camera, 238.46, going downhill now, 240, 241, 242, 243, a slight scratch off of something, 244 out of this thing, which is absolutely mad. Where's the sign? There is. On the brakes we go. Let's try and see if we can get stopped in time, of which, I mean, it kind of worked. However, now we've got something else to do. I mean, come on, it wouldn't be a video of mine if it didn't go drifting, would it? Right, let's go ahead and take this absolute beautiful museum piece of a car, sort of drifting sideways, go ahead and see what we can get. 38,803 out of the first run at the drift zone, so I have to spin it back around and try it again. Let's be fair, 38k out of this is incredible. Right, round number 2, let's go ahead, throw this thing in, see what we can do. 38,800 to beat, can we do it? I don't know if we can. We'll have a slight clonk off the wall, and out the other side at 35,155. So not quite there, but still pretty close. However, as the sun sets over the wonderful world of Forza Horizon 5, so does this video. I thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Definitely go ahead and pick this thing up if you get a chance. It's 80 points, so it's going to be quite a stretch to get to. We could get one off the auction house, but I've got to say, as a Subie fanatic, this car is definitely worth the time. Although then again, I'm also a Subie fanatic, so I would say that. In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to go ahead and like, share, comment, subscribe, all that cool stuff. That crash didn't happen, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Seg out. See ya. Right, back to the garage with this one.